I'm here to talk about overlanding, from how-tos, advice, gear, vehicle builds, and everything in between. Oh, hey there, I'm Jeff. Welcome to Oh, Hey There with Jeff. Today, my good friend Andy Lilienthal is here. He's with Warren Industries. You've been working with us really since almost our beginning.
Yeah.
Hooking us up with winch stuff and educating us as well. Some of us have some experience, but we can always get smarter and get better with this. Today, we are debunking what started out as the top 10 myths. It's moved up to the top 14 myths about winching. There's a lot of misinformation out there, fake news, if you will.
Ooh, the worst.
About winching, and we want to get to the bottom of this. So we'll just start off. I'll say a myth. You can tell me how it's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
All right, here we go. Number one, steel rope is ultra dangerous.
So, no matter which winch rope you're using, you need to respect it and you need to know how to use it.
Sure.
We get a lot of people, especially a lot of some of the Overland shows, saying, "Oh, steel cable is so super dangerous." And yes, steel cable does hold on to potential energy more than synthetic rope, but you just need to know how to use it.
Sure.
Steel rope is extremely durable, and when you're using it, you need to put a line damper on it. So if in the unlikely event of a rope failure, that weight is going to drop it to the ground. So if you have steel cable, fear not. It's not going to kill your family if it breaks or anything like that, but you just need to make sure you know how to use it. Our synthetic rope is great because it is lightweight, it is easy to handle, and again, in the unlikely event of a failure, it does drop to the ground. But the choice is yours because steel is really great for utility applications, and you can winch over stuff without fear of abrasion. But so just be safe if you're going to use either one of them.
Sure, absolutely. All right, number two, bigger is always better.
Yeah, so at Warren, what we generally say is when you're trying to select a winch, you take the gross vehicle weight rating multiplied by 1.5 to get your minimum pulling capacity, okay? And a lot of people say, well, bigger is going to always be better, right? Well, there are instances in which it's not better. If you've got a smaller rig, if you've got a CJ, a Jeep CJ, or maybe like a Suzuki Samurai, putting a 12,000 pound winch on there or a 15,000 pound winch on there isn't necessarily going to be the best thing because you can actually damage the frame, you can damage the bumper. It may be too much force for that bumper to have. So common sense, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. All right, and then with that, number three, more horsepower is always better.
Yeah, people like to play the horsepower game with winch motors because horsepower is relatable. They look at a car and all that stuff. But I mean, sometimes you think about it and you could have a sports car with 400 horsepower and you could have a dump truck with 400 horsepower, right? Yeah. It is a factor of a bunch of different things, gearing, for instance. And that's really the case with winches. If you had a 4 horsepower motor or a 10 horsepower motor, it really depends on the gearing and it depends on the efficiencies of that motor and it depends on a lot of other things. So just going off of motor horsepower doesn't mean that winch is necessarily going to be as powerful or more powerful than a different winch.
Number four, and this is big for the overlanding world, you need a dual battery system to operate a winch.
Not true. So dual battery is great. It definitely leaves one battery for starting the vehicle all the time, one vehicle for accessories such as winches. But you don't have to have it, but you do need to think about your setup. So we recommend a 650 cold cranking amp battery when you're using one of our winches. A topped off battery and enough cold cranking amps is important.
Okay, sweet. Here's one that hopefully no one's done, but just in case, I can hook my winch line to a ball hitch.
1,000 no's. Do not do this ever. If there's one thing you don't want to attach a winch rope or a strap to, it's a ball hitch. Ball hitches are not designed for winch loads and shock loads. They're designed for a heavy, constant load. A ball hitch and a winch line or a kinetic recovery strap or something like that is a ticking time bomb. Do not ever go to a ball hitch because it can break off and come rocketing back at you, and we definitely don't want that to happen.
Yeah, simple physics, but sometimes overlooked.
Right.
Never, ever do that. All right, so number 6, and I've seen guys do this, sadly, I can tow with my winch.
Yeah, again, no. Winches are great for pulling people out of stuck situations, pulling yourself out of a stuck situation, but what they're not good at is shock loads. So when you're towing, sometimes slack can develop, and then that slack quickly becomes tensioned. And what that does is it will send all of that load back through the winch into the gears, and you can strip out those gears. And along that same line, don't use your winch as a tie down either. So don't spool out the line and then attach it to a tie down on your trailer or in your trailer if you're doing that. And that goes for ATVs and UTVs too. Because when that suspension compresses and it slacks, all that load is going right back through the winch. So you don't want to do that. Use your tow points, use your recovery points, and a tow strap.
Okay, got it. Number 7, I don't need a line dampener for synthetic line.
So we get this a lot. People say, I don't need a damper because it's synthetic and it's going to fall to the ground in case it snaps. Our position on this is, why wouldn't you just use it? Because you just never know. Under certain situations, you might want a little bit of load on that line. It's a real quick and easy precaution.
Number 8, all recovery gear is created equal.
That's another one we're going to say no. So while of course we would like people to buy our recovery gear, even if they don't, make sure you're buying recovery gear from well-trusted sources. Don't cheap out on recovery gear, because a lot of that recovery gear, for instance, shackles or snatch blocks or receiver brackets, can be cast, and those cast parts can sometimes have air bubbles in them, and that's a weak link. But spend the extra $20 on good recovery equipment, because when you're recovering your vehicle or somebody else's vehicle, that's tens of thousands of dollars in many cases.
Number 9, winches are bolt on and go.
So while our winches do bolt on, you can't just bolt them on, wire them up, and now you're ready to go pull. What you need to do before that, and it's a critical step for all truck winches, our power sports winches, wire, synthetic, it doesn't matter, is you need to first tension the line. And there's a whole how-to on our YouTube channel, and it's in our basic guide to winching techniques, where you need to pull your line out, put it under some tension, and then the whole idea behind doing this is you're evenly spooling the rope onto the drum. And what that prevents is the line getting crossed over on each other and getting compressed, potentially damaging the rope.
Number 10, a winch can be used as a hoist.
Again, that's a big no. So the reason for that is due to different safety factors. A winch has a clutch on it, right? Winching should always be on a horizontal plane. A hoist should always be on a vertical plane. And the reason for that is a clutch is a mechanical device, and there's a possibility, there's always, you just never know, if something slipped, that load's going to drop, right? We hear all the time, oh, this would be a great product to use to lift my rooftop tent off of my truck or my trailer. And you actually want a hoist in that matter. And hoists have different safety factors built into them that allow for power up, power down, that kind of stuff. So there's no clutch on a hoist. It's not going to fall. There are a couple of products out there, one of which being the Warren Pulsall, that allows you to do both. But very rarely are the two interchangeable.
Sure. Okay, number 11, I don't need a tree strap.
Yes, you do need a tree strap. So you don't want to take your winch rope, again, wire or synthetic, and just go around a tree, for instance, because first of all, you have nothing to attach it to, so you're probably going to double it back on the rope. That's very bad for the rope. The other thing it's bad for is the tree. We don't want to be killing trees in the forests or on the trails when we're out there.
Number 12. And this is a good one for us here. We've experienced this. It doesn't matter if my line comes off the top or the bottom of the spool.
Right. So in about 99% of the applications, the rope needs to be coming off of the bottom of the drum. With our winches, we have a brake in the drum, and if it's coming off the top, it's actually going to be activating that brake, so you're going to be working against the brake. So the only exception is the Warren winch that is in the Dodge Ram Power Wagon.
Okay.
That's mounted a slightly different way, and the rope actually comes off the top. The physics are the same, but due to the way that's mounted, the configuration, it actually comes off the top.
All right, 13. I want to perform my recovery as fast as possible.
So when you get stuck, you're in a panic sometimes, and you're just like, oh my gosh, I gotta get out of here, Slow down, assess the situation. When it comes time to rig, make sure you're rigging all of your stuff properly. Take time, think about the situation like a chess game. How do I get out of this? What's my next move here? Really got to slow down. So while I understand most people want to get out of the situation as quickly as possible, take the time, assess the situation, slow down, and make sure you have a secure, safe, and successful recovery.
Yeah, and at that point, like, you have your tools, your physical tools to do it. The most important tool is your brain.
You got it.
Just got to be calm and collected.
Yep.
The whole thing. All right, last one, and we've heard this a bit. I don't need gloves for synthetic line.
Right. So the whole glove thing stems from wire rope. Wire rope over time can develop burrs and barbs on the wire that can cut your hand. That's why we've always said since day one to wear gloves while winching. When synthetic rope came out, it doesn't develop those barbs and it's lightweight and easy to handle, so it's very tempting not to want to wear gloves. And so people go, well, you don't need to wear gloves. Well, you don't need to wear gloves necessarily working on a car either, but if you by mistake touch that exhaust manifold while you're working on the engine, you're going to burn yourself.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't you throw a set of gloves on when you're dealing with synthetic rope? There's things like rope burn. You never know, sometimes if you're in the bush, you can get a stick or something in there that might slice your hand.
Yeah.
It's a good practice just to wear the gloves all the time. It's going to be one more barrier between whatever the rope and your hand. So wear the gloves.
Yeah, helps in all situations. Cool. All right, so that's it. 14 myths just busted on winching. Thank you, Andy, very much. Sure appreciate it. Guys, I hope that's helpful to you. Give me some feedback, leave comments, questions, experiences that you've had, and we'll see you next time.